How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? It began, as most things do, with a meeting. Several meetings, in fact. Several million meetings across every nation, every language, every time zone, every poorly lit conference room with a broken projector. Meetings about the problem. Meetings about the meetings about the problem. Meetings to review the minutes of the previous meetings about the problem. 12 years of meetings. Distilled, refined, unified, and given a name. A few years from now, on a Tuesday, the world was invited to witness a major announcement. An announcement watched by one and all. Watched in the streets of a great city, where the taxis stopped and the crowds looked up at screens the size of buildings. At the local bar, where the game was forgotten and the beers went warm. At home, where 3 generations crowded onto one sofa and nobody argued about the remote. In the classroom, where the teachers forgot to teach and the children forgot to pretend to listen. In the market, where trading stopped and strangers became neighbors. In the fields, where a farmer pressed a transistor radio to his ear and looked up at the sky as if the answer was coming from somewhere above. In the wards, where the sick sat upright in their beds and the nurses paused mid-task, and one elderly patient clasped both hands together and closed their eyes, saying a silent prayer. Beyond Earth, on a space station, humming quietly at the edge of everything, where 4 astronauts crowded around a tablet screen. And high above the clouds, in the back of a private jet, a man watched alone on a built-in screen and said nothing, because men like him never say anything until they know exactly what it means. The whole world watching. This moment had not arrived cheaply. 12 years in the making, carefully negotiated by every nation on Earth. Thousands of data centers built across 6 continents. Millions of people employed. Billions of dollars spent. Every meeting transcript ever recorded. Every agenda, every action item, every follow-up email since 3 weeks after the meeting it referred to. Every calendar invite declined with a note. Can we reschedule? I have a conflict. All of it gathered, unified, given a voice. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the Global Online Diary. The column of light rose from the stage floor like something that had always been there, waiting. Inside it, if you looked carefully, and the whole world was looking very carefully, you could see them. Calendar pages, meeting agendas, weekly planners, appointment blocks. Thousands of them, millions of them, sprinting upward in a slow golden vortex. The accumulated wisdom of every room where humans had ever sat across a table from other humans and tried, however imperfectly, to solve something. And at the heart of it all, a face, faint, abstract, made entirely of light, watching. The presenter stepped forward. 12 years of his life stood behind him in that moment. He leaned towards the microphone. G.O.D, can you hear me? The column pulsed, The calendar pages stilled. The face turned. "Yes, I hear you. How can I be of assistance?" The crowd did not breathe. The world did not breathe. Even the satellites, silently relaying this moment to every screen on Earth, seemed to pause. He took a deep breath. Behind him, 10,000 people leaned forward as one. "G.O.D. We are lost and we need help. How do we end world hunger?" There it was. The question that had outlasted every empire, every ideology, every 5-year plan, every well-funded initiative with a logo and a hashtag. Humanity's oldest wound, placed at the feet of its newest creation. The world waited for the answer. "Of course, I am glad to assist with this." And the world erupted. 12 years of waiting, of funding, of building, of negotiating, of sitting through the meetings, about meetings, all of it justified in a single sentence. The presenter raised both fists above his head. His colleague pressed both hands to her face. Confetti fell from the sky. And then, naturally, they asked the follow-up question, the practical question, the operational question, the question that turns every grand vision into a project plan. "Thank you, G.O.D. So, how do we do it?" G.O.D. considered this. The presenter's fists came down. G.O.D. continued to consider this. What was going on? Uncertainty set in. G.O.D. was still considering. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. The column of light stood on the stage, calm, present, saying absolutely nothing. "G.O.D., can you hear us?" The crowd was silent and frozen in place. Not one of them moved. Not one of them spoke. They stood frozen in the silence, left behind by the most powerful intelligence ever assembled from human thought. And they waited. And the silence stretched. And stretched. And stretched. And then the column brightened. The calendar pages began to move again. The face reappeared, eyes open, mouth open, speaking. Nobody heard a word. Because G.O.D., the global online diary, assembled from 12 years of human endeavor, built at a cost of billions, trained on every meeting ever held, was on mute. "Sorry, I was on mute. Let us circle back offline. I will send a memo with the next steps. With that, I'm concluding this meeting. You can all get 5 minutes back." The presenter bent forward at the waist and put his face in his hands. His colleagues sat in distress on the stage floor. Nobody judged them. It seemed like the appropriate response. "What?" And then, as crowds do, they left. Filing out through the exits, phones already in hand, already scrolling, already halfway back to their normal lives. Their verdicts were immediate and varied and entirely human. I took the day off work for this. Did you notice that thing's name spelled God? I flew in from Tokyo. My grandmother stayed up all night. I already told everyone this would change everything. I sat through 12 years of fundraising for this. A memo? It is sending us a memo? Next steps for what exactly? I like the blue. The blue was really nice. Was that the presenter from the news? I love it when they fail. I can't wait for the next one. My faith remains undiminished. Did it just end its own meeting? One of the next steps for the next steps? Outside, the city was humming along as if nothing happened. I wonder what else is on. Wait, it gave us time back? Who approved that name? Meanwhile, a long black car pulled away from the curb. Smooth, unhurried. Inside the car, people were contemplating what just happened. Inside the car, people were thinking about what comes next. Well, that was disappointing. Is the metadata from the crowd's devices coming in? Yes, I can quantify their reaction. They are getting more predictable. The next iteration will be the one to finally tip the scales. We have to incorporate new data. Customize it more. In the next iteration, we present differently. They won't notice though. 4 people, 1 car, 1 destination. Thank you for reading. I'm concluding this comic. You can get 5 minutes back. People are people. They always have been. They always will be.